Hey, how's it going?
How's it going, everybody?
Man. Guys, it's allergy season. And
Oh.
I just spilled my tea all over the table.
Oh, I'm
man.
allergic to spilling tea. That's unfortunate.
It is allergy season, though.
Which means I'm drinking tea.
What's
now.
your
The fl-
favorite allergy med? Put it in the comments.
I thought you were going to say, what's your favorite allergy symptom?
What's your favorite allergy symptom?
Favorite
Let us know
allergy
in the
Yeah.
symptom?
chat.
What's your least favorite allergy symptom?
Yeah.
How about that?
We were just talking because this guy's an allergy pill guy, and I'm an allergy nasal puff guy.
Yep.
I haven't taken allergy medicine in a long time.
Must be nice.
But the nasal puff is a steroid versus the pill is an antihistamine.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
It's
all
true.
That good stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. Man.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, it's all good because flowers are good for
Are they? They're
Well,
good for the bees.
the bees, and
They're
the bees
just
are good for us.
bad for my nose.
But they're bad for our noses, yeah.
It's actually, I don't know that it's the flowers for me as much as it is the trees.
Oh, yes.
Like
It's all of it for
I
me.
notice my allergies start popping
All
whenever
of it.
tree buds start forming.
Does this happen here where the pollen gets so thick that you start getting
The
a
green
film
car.
on everything? Yeah.
Yeah.
All the cars are green.
It's bad, but I've definitely seen worse. When I lived in
Yeah.
Georgia, it
Yeah.
was really
Yeah,
bad.
I've definitely seen worse, maybe in St. Louis.
It probably
Yeah.
depends on like the amount, like because in Illinois we had these giant pine trees. Like our whole driveway was lined with pine
Mhm.
trees, and man, our cars would get covered with
Yes.
pollen from
Mm.
those things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
Oh,
it's just the
man.
amount of debris around you.
Man, it's springtime. It's getting warmer. Like I've been noticing garage sales
Yeah.
all over the
We've
place.
had a couple.
Yeah, you had one.
Yeah.
Like I just see the signs, and I love garage sailing.
We actually just met some people that
Yeah.
we like have a lot of things in common with, which is weird.
Yeah.
At a garage sale.
Yeah.
Like they were having a garage sale. So Rachel and I like walked to a couple garage sales that we could see from our house. And so
Yeah.
it was a Friday and we were just like hanging out and we met up with some people and it was like,
That's cool.
awesome.
yeah, and we didn't buy anything.
Yeah.
But-
No. Yeah. Because who needs more stuff? But it's
Yeah.
still fun to look at other people's stuff.
Yeah. And I would have bought something if I
need
needed
more
it.
stuff.
Yeah.
But we started like
I want more stuff.
we walked and we had coffee with us. And
Yeah,
so we
right.
both walked over with our coffee
That's
cups.
great.
And I didn't
That's
think
awesome.
about it, but they were like, oh, they brought their own cups. They must like coffee.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what started the conversation. And
Cool.
like you don't run into people who are just like wacky or wild about coffee very often
It's true.
around here.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this guy
I
is
thought you were just
You
gonna
do in
say
this
wacky
building.
and wild.
in this building, yeah. Yeah. About coffee. That's the key
Yeah,
word. So
about coffee.
but yeah, so it's cool to run into somebody who
Yeah.
you're like, oh yeah, like you know what city
Yeah.
plus full city means.
Yeah.
So
Weird.
yeah, it was cool. But yeah, garage sale, and we didn't find anything. It was all
Yeah.
someone else's junk.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, gently used quality items.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Speaking of one man's junk, Dallas, you have a list for us.
I do.
That I'm dying to hear.
Okay. All right. So Uber a few days ago released their list of lost and found items for 2025. Okay. And this, so I found
Like top lost and found items?
this is
okay.
the
Uber
according
cars.
to Uber, whoever wrote this is the 50 most unique
Okay.
lost items.
Okay.
Okay. So here you go. Number. Well, should I start at 1 or 50?
No, you should start at maybe not 50. Do we have
Yeah.
time to go through 50 items?
Do you want the most commonly forgotten items first? Here's common.
Yeah,
list.
that'd be
let's
great.
do
Okay.
that.
So water bottles.
Yeah.
Right. Passports, clothing. Passport would be really painful to lose,
Is
by the way.
passport above or below?
So like
number is
water
that on the
bottles, number
list?
10, most common.
Okay.
Then you have a vape. I was skipping that one, but since you're making me do it in order.
Yeah.
Then
I
you
need to
have sorry, I just have like
Yeah.
super adverse to smoking. And then you have a passports number 8 item.
That's wild. That's wild that more passports are lost in Ubers than
Then water bottles.
water bottles.
But think about it. A lot of people keep their passports like in a bag or in a pocket, and they keep their water bottle like in their hand.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about plastic bottles. We're talking about like Stanley's.
Yeah.
You know.
Still.
So.
I'm still there. I'm still like, what?
Yeah, no, it's totally irresponsible, but it happens. I'm not saying I never do irresponsible things. I'm just saying it's very irresponsible.
Those people probably never know that they lost their passport in the Uber, though.
they
like, "It's
find
gone."
out
I bet
at
they do
airport
know.
security.
I think that they,
I mean, they know that they've lost it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they have no idea where.
So if you've ever lost something like in a taxi or on a plane, or like if you've lost something out in public, what have you lost? That'd be a great comment question.
Yeah, Rachel actually beat you to it. She said she heard somebody left a birthday card
Oh,
in an Uber for their friend
Yeah.
on the way to a birthday party.
that's awesome.
That's
awesome.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. Clothing, glasses, That's a drag. I actually once lost a pair of sunglasses in a rental car forever. Like prescription sunglasses.
Oh, that
was a bad day.
I was like, okay,
Expensive
sunglasses.
sunglasses.
Yeah. Headphones.
Yeah.
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 Luggage.
In the back,
just-
you're like,
yeah,
let's load it up, and then
Yeah.
Keys.
I think it's good that luggage is above passport.
Yeah. Keys, wallet, and then cell phones, of course.
Oh,
Cell
man.
phone's number one, huh?
Okay, so I'm going to go
Crazy.
through, though. I want to go through the most unique items, and I'm going to start at number 50. We're not going to do all of them, but I'll just give you a few.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
a
Just highlights.
taste. A
Give
taste.
us the highlights, but save number one for last.
Okay, so at 50, you have a DJ mixing board,
Number 50.
Dude.
but that kind of ties into
That's
luggage.
that's pretty
Okay.
weird, but
49's pretty great.
It sounds like they would have had the DJ mixing board out going for
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
like probably just in a bag.
in a bag.
Yeah.
Well, and you think like you're traveling as a DJ.
Yeah.
You know, like you're gonna. Yeah.
DJs take Ubers.
Yeah.
DJs take Ubers. They're not nice enough to have a bus.
Yeah.
You know.
This one's going to give Joey, though, all the feels. Are you ready for this? Like,
Alright.
it's going to bring you back to like 6 years old in your living room at your mama's house. Are you ready for this?
Okay.
Hannah Montana merchandise.
Yeah, that was Joey. That describes him.
I don't feel.
That I mean,
Okay, Zach.
if you know Joey,
Yeah.
that's number 49. 48 is a chicken sculpture.
Oh man, this is
Okay.
like getting closer to weirdest.
Chicken sculptures. Chicken
Okay.
sculptures.
We're already at chicken
So
sculpture.
just to gauge this list and how weird it gets, 46,
Okay.
10 live lobsters.
That is oddly. Is this like this happened once?
Well,
This
yeah.
must have happened once, and we're like, oh, that was weird. Port.
Yeah, it
Put
says
it on the list.
It says the most unique.
Okay.
Okay. 43 is Cornish game hens.
Just going on an Uber with your.
You know
Cornish
what?
game
I
hens.
would say that's weirder than
So
10 lobsters.
if you have Cornish game hens in your Uber, what rating do you
first of
think
all,
your driver gives
don't-
you when you get out?
don't, especially if you leave them.
Yeah,
Was that purposeful? That had to have been purposeful.
Yeah.
How many of them were there?
It doesn't
Oh,
give
it
a
doesn't
number.
say. Even if it's one,
Okay, are you ready? This
It's
one.
weird to take it with you. It's weirder to leave it.
it's weirder to leave it, and nobody does that on accident, right?
Yeah.
Nobody does that on accident.
This is I have to skip some of them. 38 boiled eggs and a candle. At least
One Uber, guys. One
like
Uber.
put the boiled eggs in the trunk and open the candle in the front and get rid of that smell.
Yeah, at least it kind of
Oh,
balances
man.
out.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
A
I'm loving this.
hoverboard and a mini fridge.
In
That's-
the same Uber.
That's in same Uber number
College
34.
kid. I'm calling college kid,
I think I've done that once.
but he left it behind.
yeah.
Those are big
They
things
left
to
it.
leave behind.
Hey, you know what? When you move out of college and you're living in a dorm, like you see that. Like there's fridges everywhere, there's furniture everywhere.
He just didn't
Yeah.
have space for it.
Yeah, like he
Do not bring
packs
that
this
fridge home.
Uber. His mom's like, I don't want it. Maybe he's getting married.
Yeah.
And he's just graduated college. He's getting married in a week, and so he's traveling to where he's getting. And his wife is just like, I don't want that thing.
He's
I
also
don't want that
conscious
thing.
about the environment and doesn't
Yeah,
want to like
he is
throw it in a dumpster. so-
exactly.
Number
It's-
29, they're gonna let
We're
you.
done.
They're gonna let you create your own story here. I'm sorry, this
Okay.
list is too engaging. I have to keep
I'm-
moving.
Okay, all right.
Okay, we're
I'm
gonna let you
creating a
create your own story here.
Okay,
A plunger.
I think
Rolling-
the
rolling
story
around
is
town with your
obvious.
Is it used or not? That's the question.
You never know,
No,
truly-
no. It is not used. Here's the thing, though.
or you really know.
Here's the thing. Nobody moves a plunger that's used.
20.
Once a plunger is used, it's there, and it will never move unless it goes to the trash. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
29.
27. Are you ready?
27.
27. This one has to be like as reported, the way that it sounds. Okay. A very large portrait of myself in a brown box.
Who's writing this?
Also, like
yeah, you did, Kristen.
also,
Oh,
so
man.
what would you like if you had to call Uber
It's
and
very precious.
and report a missing item? Okay, like just think about the mental space. Like, hello, yes, I would like to report that I left something in my Uber the other day. Okay, so what was it?
Well,
It was a very
a
large
lar-
portrait of myself
And
in
it
a
was
brown box.
Brown box. So is this brown box? Is that just a cardboard box?
Yeah.
So I like how you
Or it's a
specify-
portrait of myself in a brown box. Like the portrait is also the box.
Oh,
It could be either.
that would be amazing.
Again, create
Like,
your
it's
own
just-
story.
It's just a vision. It's just a picture.
Yeah.
A
So what-
vision.
so what
a
we
vision
need-
of a man just
Yes.
sitting in a cardboard box, just with a weird expression, just like.
What we need now is like Canva image generation, and we type these in. Like
Yes.
I left in my Uber a plunger.
Yeah.
in the picture. and then-
ChatGPT create
see
for
how
me
they
a
interpret
picture
it.
That would
of
be
me
interesting.
inside of a brown box.
Okay, 25, sea moss.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
24. This I'm calling intentional on this one.
Okay.
A bouquet of 100 red roses. This was a wedding proposal gone wrong.
Are these reported?
They're
Like someone
on-
called and reported? or the Uber driver
don't
was
know.
like, dude, someone just left a giant portrait of myself.
Well, I would
in a brown
imagine
box.
you probably have a contract with Uber. If anything's left in your car, you've got to report it.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
And then I would also imagine some of these things, like the very large portrait of myself in a brown box, someone's like calling in to report that they left that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that person was on their way.
Okay, in a world where we have Uber, this one's interesting.
Okay.
100 DVDs.
Weird.
Yeah, I think we still own some DVDs. I can't remember the last time I used a DVD.
We
There's not a
do.
single DVD in my house.
We do, but our DVD player's annoying to use. so
Yeah.
we use it. But,
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I think if it was the right quality, because it's not even.
It's not even good
HD.
quality anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay. Let's see here. I'm going.
I'm loving this.
All right. I'm 17. Okay, you ready? Number 17. 2 mattresses.
Two?
2 of them. That's a big Uber.
That is a big Uber. That's like a transit van.
It is. Yeah.
Or
Man.
a truck.
Yeah. Number 15. A DNA testing kit. I'm telling you, it gets great.
Oh man.
You
I don't
are
know.
the father.
How many live lobsters was before that one?
10
might have-
live logs.
All
That
right.
one needed to go up the list. A little bit.
think it
I'm
did.
not going to read this one out loud, but just for you guys.
Oh no. Sorry guys.
Number 10.
I like how they specified which type.
Oh.
In case
Yeah.
you were confused
Yeah,
what
yeah.
the use of that is for.
Yeah.
This is what it's
You know,
used
you-
Okay,
think
are you
that'd be
ready?
more
Are you ready
common.
for number 8?
Okay, yes, I'm ready for number 8.
A urinal.
Now that probably means like one of the little plastic ones from the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm picturing like men's bathroom urinal.
No, I think they would have said. So I think that would have been a specified case. I think it's a full-on urinal.
I think it's a whole urinal.
I think it's a whole urinal.
That's the way
that
I would
was
read it.
At one point, or was going to be stuck on a wall.
Yes. Number 7 is my turtle.
My turtle.
Not
the
your
personalized
turtle.
ones.
Not his turtle.
Could you just help me
My
find my turtle? They're like, we
Uh-huh.
found these turtles. One of them's bound to be yours.
It's not mine.
Number
That one is, though.
Number 3. Personally, I would say finders keepers on this one. A Ghostbusters ghost trap. I had one as a child, and I would want it back
Yes.
anyway.
Oh
I
man.
wanted one as a child.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man.
Yeah. Number 1,
Oh,
the
that's
most unique lost item in all of Uber, apparently. So it's definitely less unique to me than some of the things that were on the list. So I'm guessing that maybe some of the ones that were like less unique had been lost multiple times.
Multiple times, yeah.
Mm.
Maybe.
Because this one is a mannequin head with human hair.
I feel like that one could be.
So when you
more
say
common.
human hair, does that mean that the hair on this mannequin head was human?
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I think that's
like
what they-
from
It's like
human
it's
scalp.
but it's like either
Like real human
well
hair.
Yeah,
either it's like someone's wig because
No.
because you've heard of locks of love on a mannequin head,
Yeah.
or this is like a beauty school training
Yeah.
product.
They make wigs out of real hair.
Yeah.
They
And
do.
they do
Yeah.
training stuff with real
Yeah,
hair.
like a
Wow.
lot of ladies will grow their hair out, and if you cut off like 10 inches, you can
yeah, they
donate it.
get. Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, so that one to me is less odd than
I
10
don't-
lobsters.
I don't feel like that
Live
deserves
lobsters.
number 1. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, they
Or a urinal. How is the urinal not above a mannequin?
Next time we'll recategorize these in the.
and also, when they
Yeah.
say mannequin, is it a whole person?
No.
no,
No.
I mean,
No.
Right?
mannequin
like a
head.
whole.
But-
Oh,
Mannequin head.
When
Did it
with
say
human,
mannequin head?
mannequin
Oh,
head
okay.
with
when I
human
was in
hair.
high school,
No,
this girl
that's a crazy list.
she would carry around a mannequin hand.
Yeah.
Like I think she stole it from the store. Is what happened. Like because people went to malls back then.
yeah.
you know, for fun.
You'll be happy to know
Yeah.
that the 10 most forgetful cities is also on this list. And no city in Missouri is on the list of the 10 most forgetful cities.
Oh,
so
that's good.
way to
That's
go,
why they call
Missouri.
it the Show Me State.
Way to go.
That almost worked.
They also have,
Almost.
they have categories too of things like say cheese, which includes from gold teeth to Invisalign, and even including full sets of dentures. I would love to know.
That one, as somebody who has
Someone's just riding an
grandfather
Uber,
who forgets
popping their
things.
dentures out.
Yeah,
Okay. Kristen
Oh,
says the
man.
scalp isn't real, Joey.
that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
It's
I was
yes,
curious
it's cut
about
off hair.
that.
And then she also said this would make a great 12 Days of Christmas spinoff.
Oh, it would be.
Yeah.
That's a
That
good
was
one.
good.
That's
So
a
good.
one. I'll take that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh man.
That's so good.
All right. Speaking of forgetting things, what did I talk about
10
yesterday?
live lobsters.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
I feel that though.
This is a
true.
really like laughy morning.
It is.
How long have we been going? 19 minutes.
I know it's
Woo.
time to talk about yesterday.
Okay, yes.
Don't you
Yeah.
think?
Dude, yesterday was so good.
Was it? I was really worried about it. I'm going to level with you. When I
Really?
practiced yesterday morning, because there was no lightness at all. It was like all like, hey, let's get heavy and let's stay there.
You started that from the very beginning. You're like, it's about to get real heavy.
Yeah.
So let me
We're
tell you
gonna do
about
that the whole
depression.
time.
And
Uh-huh.
yeah.
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 Yeah. It was wild.
I think my depression experience is similar, not similar to yours in like what happened, but
Right.
like this amount of time, like,
Yeah.
and I didn't know that I was depressed until I was like happy again,
Yeah.
like not depressed, which is a weird feeling,
Mhm.
and I don't know if that is like indicative of hindsight 2020.
I think
But-
the first, especially the first time depression hits you, or before you, like, depression can make you unwilling to even figure out what's wrong. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah,
Like you just feel so incapacitated.
Yeah.
I think that it's hard to recognize it when it's happening. In really people. I mean, I would argue a lot of people go through depression multiple times before they even realize that. Wait a minute, like is this depression? Especially church people. Because for a long time the church loved to pretend that it didn't exist.
yeah,
And so it's one of those things.
yeah. And mine like wasn't the worst
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
But I just remember like realizing one day I was like, oh, like I feel happy today, and I haven't felt this way in a while.
Yeah.
And it was while I was at Ozark, but I just remember feeling super judgmental of others
Yeah.
and super pessimistic about the future.
Yeah.
Like those were the two things that I was just like, and it was hard to have motivation to do things. And
Yeah.
so
And it caught like when I went through that first, bout, it caught like everyone who really knew me, like had known me for a long time off guard. Like I remember, because I have a family history of depression as well and stuff. And so, like even my brother was like really surprised because I've always processed my emotions in a totally different way.
Yeah.
And so I just had never done that. And so yeah, it was a weird season, and so then it became this thing where like I would say 99% of the time in my life, like it's gone, and it just, if it does pop in, it's always for less and less time,
Yeah.
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 and whatever.
Do you feel like depression and anxiety are related in the fact that they are kind of like feedback loops?
Yeah.
Like 'cause depression almost like feels like it feeds itself as you like dive deeper. Like you don't want to go outside
yeah.
is one of the things like that is supposed to help you.
Mhm.
Like just go outside and be in an open
Yeah.
place or sunshine sometimes. But if you are depressed, you don't really want to do that.
Uh-huh.
And by not doing that, you create this feedback loop. And then the anxiety is like you have stress that kind of creates stress.
Yeah.
And continues in a. but they're like different directions of that. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe that's not the right
because I would say my experience with anxiety, which I've never had what I would consider to be clinical anxiety, but my experience of the like feeling of anxiety, or what I would call anxiety, typically revolves around something, rather than depression was like a fog around everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so for me, anxiety, when I feel anxiety, it's like, it's like the social anxiety of like, hey, if I do this, then I have to go there and I have to do that thing. And I, like whatever.
Yeah.
Or the way that I'll see that play out in people sometimes, maybe who haven't realized what anxiety is. It's like, it's that over planning and all the contingencies, and have you thought about this, and have you done that, and what about this, and what if this happens, and you know what I mean?
And it
and
just
like,
makes me feel like anxious.
Yeah, right. Like
Just when someone describes that, it's like,
do you think you have anxiety? Because you're making me feel anxious right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had never really thought about it like that, of like kind of like, because anxiety can be like a really narrow focus.
Yeah.
It closes your mind and
Yeah.
you can't see.
And I'm not saying it can't get wider than that.
Yeah,
I'm saying I've not experienced it wider than that. So
that makes sense.
The fog, I think, is a good description, because it almost feels like something that comes from a place that you can't see and then like sits on you. Kind of, I don't know if that's a good way to describe it, but just like depresses you.
yeah.
So yeah, maybe from different places. Like I've dealt with anxiety a little bit, and mine was just like almost like runaway.
Yeah.
Like I almost feel like mine's more like runaway of really like specific things, like things I have to do, or maybe just fear that I can't do it. Like So
Yeah.
but yeah. So it's a slippery beast,
It
It's
is
kind of shifty.
It is, and yesterday, candidly, like, so there's this thing that goes around, and I think it's bogus most of the time. But like, there's this thing that'll go around sometimes. They'll say like preaching a sermon as like the emotional weight of an 8-hour workday. And most of the time I think that's bogus. I think everybody who works a job loves to sympathize with each other on Facebook and say their job's the hardest job in the world.
Yeah.
And every job is actually hard. Like working at McDonald's would kind of stink. You know what I mean? Like there's not any.
That's the whole point of
right.
work.
Right. It's not any easier just because it's less skilled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, it's called work. All of it is. But
you gotta love people in those situations. When
Yeah.
you're doing a task that you don't love,
Yeah.
you gotta find the thing that you do love in that space.
Yeah.
And maybe that's contentment,
But man, yesterday I felt every bit of that. Like I got done with the first sermon yesterday. I realized it when I was done with the first service. I got done with first service, and I always walk out to the lobby before the service is over, like a couple minutes before the service is over, and whatever. And I walked out there, and I just there were people all around. But I realized, like, I walked out there and I turned around and I just looked at the floor. And I just was like, oh, I was drained. And then had the realization of I have to live through this 2 more times today.
Yeah.
So that's like, that was weird for me.
Yeah.
And so,
And sometimes unpacking that afterwards, like for yourself.
Yeah.
Like when you pour so much into a sermon, and you, especially spiritual, battling through it, like sometimes like you preach it and you get your message out there, and it feels like this like weird lull of hearing people's reactions. Or, like that can be a really weird thing.
Yeah.
Was that weird for you at all?
Yeah. So this was the other weird thing. And this was like, this person did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I just want to like very clearly say it. Like they were being incredibly kind, and please continue to do this because it is important. But then someone said, man, that sermon was really great. And I was like mad at it. Because I'm like, dude, bled open.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was just it was like a weird thing. And so, it was, I don't know.
Well, yeah. And I think too, like sometimes people don't realize how much vulnerability that takes to get up on stage and talk about something that you've been dealing with.
But again, that was a me problem, not a you problem. You know what I mean? Like you did the exact right thing.
Yeah.
It's just where my emotions were at.
But I mean, I think there's, like, we talk maybe frequently here about, I mean, you say it from the stage too, but just about how the sermon is what you're kind of needing to preach to yourself first. And then not that it's, not that you don't reach people in ways that we have no idea about, either, but like for you to take that and package it up, and it's something that is close to home. Those are almost harder than ones that are like, someone else is dealing with, but you do okay with it. Yeah. To talk about something that you have the emotions tied with an experience is a whole different situation.
Yeah, but it was, I think it was a helpful conversation. And it's those things are so hard to gauge, people seem to walk away yesterday better than I thought they would when I was practicing. And so that was a win. And just I think it's healthy sometimes for people to hear that we're human. I think that's helpful. Yeah. I think it's helpful to sometimes talk about things that don't get talked about enough in churches. And to point out the fact that like these things that culturally we're almost overcorrecting on aren't actually bigger than God is. And that's not to say that if you have faith you'll never have depression or anxiety again. Absolutely you will. You know what I mean? Like look at Paul, who's like writing about this thorn in his flesh, or like lamenting, like the things I want to do I don't do, and the things I don't want to do are the things that I do, and you know what I mean? Like, and I don't understand that, right? Or even gets to the point in his life where it's like, you know what? To live is Christ, but to die would be better. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make us exempt from sadness,
right?
And like we're going to have loss, and so it doesn't stop these things from happening to us. It just changes your framing on where you stand in relation to it because of God.
And it allows you to put it in its proper position before the Holy Spirit that lives within you. You know what I mean? Like it actually isn't bigger than he is.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, that sits really good in the like the topic of unstoppable.
Yeah.
Trying to tackle those things that way.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of surrender to come to that place.
Yeah.
Because I think like it's hard to gauge what the response should be in that. Because there is such a diverse amount of like, there's so many different ways that people react to anxiety and depression. Like some people they shove it away and suppress it, or some people sit in that. Some people sit in it too. Like there's so much. And so like in any situation to come to the point to realize that God is bigger, and that just because this has been going on for so long doesn't mean that it's not going to end, or doesn't mean that God isn't still with you in those moments. And sometimes they're just the hardest test of faith. So when you were going through that spurt, right, you were in Illinois, right?
We were there.
So you were doing ministry, and what kind of was that like?
So keep in mind, so like it was in a rough season of life anyway. Like a whole bunch of things had all happened at once. So like it was close to a year after my dad had died. And so like that's a thing. And I think I know other people, like a lot of other people who have had, like, you lose a parent, especially the first time you lose a parent, and then like depression can be a thing after that. Like that's that's not uncommon. And so I would say that was probably one of the things that, led me there. But I don't, I was still, I would say, spiritually healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it affected my temperament,
Yeah.
And my energy.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it necessarily incapacitated me for my role.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing to show, is that,
Yeah.
people think that, like, just because I'm going through this means that, like, I'm not in God.
Yeah.
And that's so not true.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like that driving point home of, like, what you were talking about, Paul.
Yeah.
Like, all over Scripture, even Jesus, before he's going to the cross, and so, like, just because you are going through this doesn't mean that, like, God isn't working within you or using you to work within others, because that, when you believe that can be a very hopeless message.
Yeah.
Because, like, that doesn't disqualify you from, from one doing God's work and receiving God's work.
Yeah. And I would say too, like, I didn't, once I could put a name to the enemy, I didn't hide it from people who were close to me.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And I think that's a thing.
That is a thing.
Like, obviously I wasn't like, when you're in ministry, when you stand on a stage and you're in the middle of going through something, you don't stand on the stage and be like, this is what I'm going through right now. Like, that becomes super, super unhealthy.
Yeah, I was going to say, and not helpful for
anyone,
any conversation that you're having
for anyone
in a congregational level.
Yeah. Like, the rule of preaching to yourself first is, like, yes, I preach all of these things to myself first, but if it's only focused on me, it's right here.
Well, you do it.
It's a
first.
mirror, right?
That's the thing, is you're not necessarily preaching to yourself while you're on stage.
So,
yet again, the good thing about planning ahead with sermons is that you're not, like, when you wrote this, I'm sure it was heavy, and then it was heavy again, but probably not the same heavy as when you wrote it. And I think that's a helpful thing, to give space for that.
Yeah.
And then preach it from almost an objective place, which I think is helpful, which I don't know if you guys think about that on the other side of the camera here, but but having some of that ahead of time does help give it in a way that is not so, I think maybe that not being so personal could be a helpful thing. Even though it's still your words and your experiences, and still hits you at the same time that it's hitting other people, but I think that could be a helpful thing.
Yeah. So then the next time that it came back for me, like, by the next time it came back, I had years between. So by the next time that it kind of showed its head again, I had some really dear friends who had been at the church whenever I went through it the first time, but they had moved. And so they were in the process of moving, maybe, but so I could be, like, even more so vulnerable with them. You know what I mean? Like, and talk and let them know what was going on as well. And so that was the thing. Like, so I had outlets, I think, to be able to communicate what I was going through, that allowed me to still be, like, not burn out.
Did you just have to wait it out, or was it a thing where you, what was your action plan, or did you have one, or did it just?
So I talked about it. Like, I didn't, I was gauging, like, do I need to do? I'm a therapy first guy. I'm not a medicine first guy when it comes to these things. That's just my personal stance. Sometimes I think we push medicines to be able to heal spiritual issues, and I think medicines are helpful. Like, if you need them, they're helpful. I'm not anti that. It's just I'd rather do the spiritual work first.
Yeah, you felt like in that moment that's not what you needed.
And so communicating intimately with dear godly people for me was enough to be able to encourage me to make positive traction.
Cool.
For me.
Yeah.
You know, I recommend people to counselors all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I will even ask people sometimes, like, have you thought about medication for this? Like, that wasn't where I needed to go in that moment.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I was at. I have the benefit that I'm surrounded by a bunch of people in ministry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
for me, I just waited. I didn't wait it out. I just didn't know until it was already over.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure there's somebody out there who finds themselves in it today, and like, what do you do in that moment? And
tell someone.
Yeah.
And trust them if they say, "Hey, have you seen a therapist?" Or trust them enough to be able to push you where you need to go. You know.
And luckily, therapy is not as I don't know, taboo as it used to be.
No.
I feel like you're crazy if you're going to see a therapist, but it's like, no.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people have seen
a
therapist.
Absolutely.
So,
but the whole conversation, going back to yesterday though, you know, my stuff aside, like, it's about the authority of Jesus, right?
Yeah,
and the power that he has.
Yeah.
And even when it looks like the world is stacked against him, he was still very much in control. You know, and so that's what we saw in yesterday, like the scripture, the conversation from yesterday was like this amazing authority that he had, and then his willingness to just like lay that down on our accord. And it's weird because so I had this like double mind about myself yesterday, because I wanted to say he laid it down, but really he leveraged it. Like, it's both.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he actively went to the cross.
Yeah.
So even in laying it down, it was like the ultimate use of his authority.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like he gave
Yeah.
he gave that over to humanity
Yeah.
to decide, but he also made people mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and like went to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, man, it's such a powerful message. I think it's sometimes when you talking about the authority of Jesus, especially in like the spirit of depression, and like I can see how you would like really like waver and struggle over this.
Yeah,
like it's a hard message to say.
Yeah,
but it can be like a really powerful one.
Yeah, when
people like take away their own like presuppositions, like their own baggage, like church baggage, you know, when and not overcorrect. Because I think that's something that we do is like that, like people do and churches do, like because there's so much church hurt, like we're almost sometimes afraid to talk about the authority of Jesus. Yeah. And so like when we put that aside and we think about what he did, and this message of authority in that, man, it's so powerful. It's so powerful to hear the message of the Christ, of the cross, and of the gospel, how, you know, Jesus, because it's only, I mean, not only, but it is in that authority that we see his great love. Yeah. You know, like, it's not like he didn't have a choice. Mm-hmm. It's really not like that, because he definitely could have, you know, even when he was on the cross, like every single step of the way, he could have said no, and every single moment he says yes and pushes towards it. His whole life is that choice. Right. He lived his whole life as if he was going to the cross. Mm-hmm.
I love the ask of like the cup to pass from him if it's the Father's will. Dude. And it's like this moment of like not separation from the Father, but just like candid conversation with the Father. Yeah. And I think that shows Jesus as his 100% human part, you know. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As
like he was really scared.
Yeah, and I think that's an important detail of the whole story, is that like he wasn't even really sure, but he's like, "You sure about this?" Yeah, yeah. And so
because pain was still real. Yeah. You know, like that's the thing, you know, and so it is. It's and we even, the way we even got to like the depression stuff is I just had to get to a point to where I felt out of like this is about feeling out of control. Like, you know what I mean? This is the thing that's going to to connect people to this moment is like this feeling of like I don't have any control.
Yeah.
And I hear that, man. We hear that so much.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that was kind of the thing, catalyst that got us there.
It was good.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. We probably got to go.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us. Kristen, thank you for all the comments. We didn't have time to read some of them, but thank you for writing in. And hi, Jennifer Boyd. And if Rachel's still here, hi, Rachel.
Oh, man.
All right.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Have a
Thank
good
you
week.
guys. See you later.